You know me, I love my redstone contraptions. It's no surprise that I've built yet another farm over here at Loglands, and this one looks super impressive, but what is it? Well, my first attempt to fire this thing up didn't go straight to plan. This thing is not a glorified stone generator. No, that is not the purpose that it's going to serve for us. This one, my friends, will produce azalea trees. That means logs and rooted dirt. But there's a part of it that I'm yet to construct, and that's a collection area that needs to do something rather interesting. So I figured, why not set up a temporary one on the floor down here? It doesn't need to be up near where the farm is, right? It still collects all of the items. Well, maybe not all of them, but that's fine. We'll take care of this later when we upgrade this farm to do something very interesting. Hello my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Hermitcraft, where I have taken more bone meal from the bone meal silo and plowed it all the way around the edge here. Well, it's kind of hard to see because it's plunged in darkness, but bone meal is feeding yet another farm. And yes, it's a rooted dirt farm. And yes, we've already built one of these, so you might be wondering, why do we need another one? That's a question I'm going to answer, but first of all, I just wanted to share with you a really cool moment that happened during one of my live streams the other day. Are there two of them? What? Oh my god. Oh my god. How even? That is amazing, that sight right there. How even? The heck? They've multiplied. They're multiplying. Didn't someone say we should go to the Corrales maze? Corrales maze, Corrales maze. Ain't no maze like a Corrales maze. Where we at, homies? Where we at? Cake! I found the cake! Woo! Dude, I did it! Woo! Yay! What's my prize? What's my prize? What is this? A shop? I don't want to spend money. I'm stingy. Oh, worst prize ever. No, wait, I got this. I got this. Woo! Hey, is it a pina colada? Oh my god, what an idiot. I look like an idiot. Jeez. I just mean in general. I'm not talking about the cap. Yeah. I was going to say, people fly a lot, so like, you can just fly over the maze next time, right? I don't like mazes, but I like it when I win. So, why was this such a cool moment then? Well, as I said there, I'm not really a big fan of mazes, but I got a really cool prize, and it actually just inspired me to do a little building and decorating in the base where we desperately need it. I haven't really done much around here lately, but when inspiration hits you, you know, you got to roll with it. And so I built this entire room that you see right here just for the pina colada, okay? This is literally its purpose in life, is to look gorgeous and have this thing present. So yeah, this room is home to some cool details, a lovely color palette, and there's nothing else going on down here yet. I'll get around to this at some point. But for now, let's head back to Loglands because I'm sure you're really curious about this farm. So I had a eureka moment the other day. I discovered something about the rooted dirt that means we could do something quite amazing that I don't think I've seen done before. Now, I was told by my buddy Cybot that this farm that I've constructed here is inefficient. And, you know, gotta listen to Cybot, he knows what he's talking about. So it turns out that they had already engineered an incredible rooted dirt farm that produces loads of this stuff and pushes them out in block form, which was something that I needed. As you'll see though, we get quite a few blocks each and every time, and there are these incredible flying machines that go all the way through the contraption to push the logs out. Now, I really wanted to learn from some of these design principles and make another rooted dirt farm that I could call my own, but this one was just so darn good, and it's not actually the rooted dirt farm that I want to build. There's something else that I want to do with these blocks, and I need them to exist in the world already placed down, right? So with this farm that Cybot has created, we're going to modify it and use it to do something different. This starts with converting the rooted dirt block. And I've done this before in the past, but with regular dirt, you can convert this into mud. Turns out you can do that with rooted dirt too, which was my eureka moment for this whole project. Anyway, we have a dispenser down here with empty bottles and then a hopper here, also with empty bottles. Notice though that this one has room for one more. That's important because up the top here, we got water bottles waiting to go into this dispenser, which points up into the rooted dirt. Now, when it's activated, it creates a bottle that then goes down into here. Now, it'll get activated because this block will change. So a signal will come around, go into the target block and power it, but then with a little delay also power this dispenser. So it gets activated, an empty bottle goes down and goes into the elevator, which also turns it into a water bottle and ends up going back into there. So we're going to aim at the torch to place the block, but I'm going to use free cam so we can watch what's going on here. I'm going to hold down right click, and this is very reliably going to convert every block that goes through. And it does so without messing up any of the bottles here, and it never seems to miss a block, which is just fantastic. But this is just one piece of the puzzle, because this design had to fit into the existing farm. And that turned out to be a really fun challenge, because our rooted dirt ends up going across like this. And what we need to do is actually to get it to go out the side of the farm in this direction. Because once it's out here and it's been converted to mud, it gives me more space to manipulate it even further. But I've realized this will be dreadfully painful to do step by step in survival due to the nature of what we're working with here. So we're going to check out the modifications I've made in creative first. We want to give our attention to these pistons here that are very carefully timed so that they alternate, and that means they can pull out the blocks and then push them across. What I had to do is get these firing so that the block gets pulled across, then downwards, and then pushed out again. And now we see that happening. And then over on this side, you can see I've squeezed in the mud block converter. And when I say squeezed, I really mean it. This thing had like no more space at all. It just about squeezed in here. And that's another great thing about redstone. Even when you're not building something from scratch, it's still a puzzle to be solved. Now, the next challenge was to get all of these blocks laid out flat like this for further manipulation. The way we do this is by running it off of the same clock as over there. So when the blocks come through, they can all be pushed out on the same timing. So the pushing over there only happens when this piston is retracted. And likewise, when one arrives at the back here, we can push all of these out and have another one slide in without anything breaking. Now, I had some blocks placed in the area here and I removed them deliberately because I want to show you the next part of how we're manipulating these blocks. And there it is. Look, that block is different. Can we get another one? We can. We got one down here. Any more takers? I swear, usually this thing, there you go, is a lot faster. And there's another one. And there's another one. Brilliant, brilliant. Yes, these dripstone blocks with dripstone stalagmites below will turn the mud into clay. So we've gone from rooted dirt to mud and clay. And notice how over here we've got a lane that doesn't have the dripstone blocks. That's to guarantee that we can get some mud out of this thing too. But it's the clay that we're after. And of course they get pushed into the middle here so that when the TNT comes down, they automatically get harvested. Uh-huh. Oh. Ah, of course. Yes, yes. Now you understand. Now you understand. No player was required for the making of this block. Well, that might not be true. The clay conversion might require a player nearby. But anyway, you can see where this is going, and believe me, there's still a long way to go. So I've done all the hard work and I've built this in survival on Hermitcraft, and it's all working with no issues whatsoever. And the Loglands area is actually situated under some massive dripstone caves. So I just popped down there to grab the dripstone blocks and dripstone while this thing was running. And then I set these blocks up on either side and straight away, you know, the mud starts converting to clay. And now we're farming wood, mud, and clay. And I keep saying it, this is just the beginning. Or maybe we're at the middle right now, because we've got tons and tons of materials over here. In just a couple of hours, this thing has pumped out a ridiculous amount of items. And so now we have to start working on processing all of this stuff. We're going to need furnaces and crafters, and I haven't even planned this next bit. So it's probably time to take a bit of a break and flex our creativity muscles. Well, redstone is creative, right? But when it comes to building, it's a different kind of energy. So like earlier on where we decorated the spot up there, I've done a little bit more decorating on the inside. Nothing too special, but slowly tying things together. First of all, with a staircase to take us up to this area. Remember this? It connects to this spot up here. And now we've got a similar feeling room down below because it's got a bunch of shelves with various blocks and details on, which is kind of cool. But it also links through this space here where we have the beacons at the heart of our base. And this is kind of just a happy accident, okay? This corridor here was waiting to be filled with something, and putting the trapdoors around the beacons just felt right. And I do love this little labyrinth of corridors. You might have noticed that there's also a room over here. This is where we can come and collect some sugarcane. This is because I built a sugarcane farm. I don't think I actually ever showed it on video. So here we go through the labyrinth of twisting turns and lefts and right, past the turtle mosh pit. And there it is, the sugarcane farm. I squeezed it into this space right here. It was kind of a challenge to do that because this structure was already existing. Oh yeah, and look, now we're back over here again. So it's pretty basic stuff. It works based on the observer detecting the growth of the very last bit of sugarcane, and then a redstone signal will go through the middle and power both sides. Now down here at the bottom, we got waterlogged leaves, which lets the sugarcane be planted on these mud blocks. And because mud blocks are the way they are, you can just put hoppers directly below to pick up the items. So I had my fun doing a little bit of building, and then it was back to redstone because I want to automate this right here getting filled up. It's supposed to have rockets in, by the way. These suckers. So sugarcane makes the paper, and the gunpowder comes from our general purpose mob farm. We have, well, you know, a ridiculous amount of this stuff. But I didn't feel like doing the whole piping it over from this location to the other location. I just decided to make it work off of a shulker box of gunpowder. Oh, and as we head out of here, I just haven't mentioned it. The slime farm is still, you know, doing its thing in the background, and we're getting a reasonable amount of slime blocks. So where were we? I wanted to automate the creation of rockets, and this means a jangle of redstone in the back area. Can't wait to show you this because it's just an absolute mess. But the very first thing is this right here. We've got an item filter set up. So when I put in this, it's going to start draining out the gunpowder. Now, when that empties, I can come around here and grab that. What I'm getting at is that the filter stops the shulker box from being picked up by the hopper. There's no room for it here, so we can grab it. And an idea just popped into my head. I should be able to get like a comparator signal from that and send it somewhere up into the base so I can see when we need to replenish this thing. Anyway, let's not get distracted and venture around here. I had to squeeze in a whole bunch of auto crafting stuff. But let's start at the start with the sugarcane farm. So I'm underneath that right now. They used to just collect into these chests, but now we redirect the items into these chains of hoppers. So this first one over here goes into an auto crafting system. We've seen this plenty of times. So it's over there that we make the paper, and then it squeezes through all of this into a spot where there is a crafter. It's very hard to see. And what comes from the other side is the gunpowder from just over there. So when we get some more paper into here, it'll start crafting again, and then the items will go across and around the corner. And this right here, that's the little system at the front that we pick up our rockets from. And I really want to see this thing in action, so I'm going to dump some sugarcane into those hoppers. Then we whiz down the stairs to where the rockets are, and yes, look at that. We've automated the creation of them. Yeah, every now and then I top these up, and I've just wanted to do that for so long. So I can come over here, get a few extra rockets, and it'll automatically be refilling. That is so cool. Let's get back over to Loglands, shall we? There it is. And what's all this going on down below? Well, first of all, we got item filters. And although there's primarily free items that come out of this, I've added more because occasionally other things turn up like stone and cobblestone, but these are the free items that we want to filter. And I know exactly what I'm doing with the wood and the clay, and this has been laid out very carefully so that we can make 3 different types of items from this. Now, the auto crafting design may look familiar because we've used it a bunch of times over here in Loglands. and we're using it again, but this time it's been modified because we're adding furnaces into the input. So this first hopper is going to pull out the clay balls. You can see it goes across the top, and then our furnaces can take those items in to be smelted. The second row is for the oak wood. So that goes back here a little bit so that these hoppers can distribute it into the furnaces for fuel. And there's no extra logic required here because when the items start going down into the hoppers after they've been smelted, that's when all the auto crafting logic back here kicks in. So we don't need any modifications for the furnace input. And the farm isn't running at the moment, but I'm going to simulate it by chucking a bunch of this stuff into the system. Well, we've started to get going, but it's a slow start because this thing is kind of contingent on the items backing up here before they'll then make their way over to the next one. And I'm kind of banking on the hopper speed slowing everything down because we've got 8 of these in a row, right? They're all going to do the same thing, which is turn these clay balls into bricks. That's right, these bricks right here. You know what this means? In fact, let's wait and see it in action. There it goes. We're automatically now making bricks. I showed you terracotta earlier in the video, right? That's the one that I knew about, and I kind of forgot you can make bricks from clay too. So this is it. This is like fully automated. You can get your hands on this block. And you know what? I didn't think about this. It's just occurred to me that I could have perhaps built this array different so that it also makes slabs and stairs too. It's been a long day. I totally forgot about that, and I'm really happy with what we've made here, so I ain't gonna worry about it. All right, all of these have fired up, and I'm reminded I'm probably gonna get some comments saying that the oak logs should be crafted into planks to be more efficient, right? But the thing is, we get such an absurd amount of wood out of this farm, like almost the same amount as clay. I don't think we're actually gonna need to change it. But we do need to reduce the size of the array. I've taken it down from 8 to 4, and I've only ever seen 2 segments of this running at the same time, and that is, of course, throttled by the speed at which we produce clay up the top here. And occasionally, you know, a stone block gets in there. And that is precisely why I built these extra filters up here. So we'll go and put cobblestone into one of these. Anyways, coming back down here, you can see we've got our second array, and this one is for terracotta. It's actually the same design yet again, but we've shifted it upwards because instead of having the furnace before the crafting, we now have it after. And the logic checks out the same. The only big difference is that the terracotta is going to back up into the furnace, and then it means you have some clay backing up here and into the crafter above. So for those reasons, you could argue it's a little more inefficient. But let's get this thing wrapped up now. For the very last module, it's going to be the same thing again because we're crafting clay blocks, but we're not smelting them into terracotta. So for that reason, the collection area is just going to be a little bit higher. And with that, we now have bricks, terracotta, and clay being automatically made from this farm. And the last thing I want to do here is increase its efficiency using these items. I'm referring to the amount of bone meal that it uses because this farm over here is creating bone meal while that one is in use. And because it makes moss out of stone, it too is producing loads of these items, but they're kind of going to waste. I want to recycle these into bone meal. Now, a water collection system might seem ideal, but if we look up where some of these items land, they're on top of blocks. But I do have a unique idea on how we can collect these. But first, let's look at where we are actually recycling some of these items, and that's here in the middle, where unfortunately I missed out on placing some leaf blocks through here. So all of these items would be getting pushed out to the sides, and then the flying machines would bring them forward. We can now see that in action as the logs here get pushed out. Those items fall onto these hoppers, and if they get pushed out even further, there's some more here. This all feeds into composters that then recycles it into bone meal and feeds it into the dispenser at the bottom. It is, however, the dispensers on the sides up the top here that consume way more bone meal, so we might want to end up pumping that all the way to the top so it can feed all the uses of bone meal in the farm. Before we find out if that's even necessary, we need to build our unique collection system, which is going to be a combination of both rails and water. And because of a recent Minecraft update, water doesn't pop off rails anymore. So this means that you can have a hopper minecart going around and hitting up the blocks that are directly above for the items on top of them. And then the water is going to push items onto the tracks like this torch has been here. And as much of a cool idea that was, once I'd laid down where the hopper minecart needed to go, it became kind of apparent that was actually all the spots where these items were falling. So now it goes around like you've just seen, and then it heads up to the top here. So this is a minecart unloader, which will just chuck out all of the items into a water stream back there. They'll then get channeled through, turned into bone meal, and if there's any of it sitting waiting to go into this large chest, well, then it locks the hopper behind it, which is where the bone meal comes across from the other side over there. And that has put a finishing touch on this amazing project, which was what I was about to say, and I decided to come up the top here to say that, and I've discovered there's tons of items up here. This spot, however, this is probably where we would use water to collect these items. So there is more work to be done here, lots of tweaks and changes and optimizations. I'm going to be doing most of that on live streams, maybe reporting back in here in these episodes, but look at it. We did it. I didn't even think it was possible, but I learned and we found a way to make bricks, to make terracotta, and to make clay. Although the player does need to be in the area for the clay to be made, so it's almost a playerless farm, almost. But yeah, I don't have to mine any blocks, which is just amazing. So I hope you enjoyed this cracking episode of Hermitcraft, and I say that because I'm just having a blast at the moment. However, the next episode, I have possibly what might be one of my best aesthetic builds ever to make, and I am so stoked, so make sure you subscribe to catch that episode. It's going to be awesome, and hopefully I'll get it out to you soon. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!